Speaking of which, we are doing a tapping event. Can you just talk a little bit about SFT tapping? We've done a lot of these events recently where we haven't really talked that much about the technique of SFT tapping. So do you want to just say something about that? Because you invented the SFT tapping protocols. So there's no one better to talk about SFT tapping than you, frankly.
Well, yeah, it's based on a tapping that, other people do tapping that's not SFT. Well, I started out doing a tapping that wasn't SFT, but it didn't go farther enough. It only went to the body and what makes you feel good. And it didn't incorporate the collective and the macrocosm and all the ways we're interconnected. So what we've done with the SFT tapping is use a tried and true tapping protocol that a lot of people use. And we've named it the spiritual freedom technique. It's not just the emotions, not just the body, but spiritually. And that encompasses everything on all levels of consciousness. You got the physical, physiology and the physical, astral and emotional, causal and past lives, mental, and all that goes with that, and the ego. The etheric realm, which is this realm beyond the mental realm and pure positive realms. Now, a lot is not known about the etheric realm, but what happens in the etheric realm is that issues that affect people in the physical, they will stay in that realm in a formless state, meaning you can't grab onto them mentally or emotionally. It's almost like in a powdered state. It's almost like if you have a fire, you get rid of the fire, but there's still smoke in the room. So these issues, you can put out an issue and extinguish it, but the issues can stay in a non-mental, causal, astral form in the etheric realm and then settle back down into the bodies. So I don't know of anyone else who gives that understanding of the etheric realm, but it's really important to address things on the etheric realm, which is what we do as well. So what we do is we use the brain, we tap in the brain, which triggers the pons of the brain and sends out an intention. Now, everything that you think and say sends out an intention to the universe. But unfortunately, lots of times they're very negative, like, oh, I'll never get a job. You'll never get this. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so depressed. Allah. We train not to be effective. But this is taking that same mechanism and honing it to put out the most positive, uplifting, direct intentions and tapping it into your body so they put that intention above all the bitching and moaning that you do. And then you set it into the heart, and then you set it into the body. So that's what we're doing with these taps.
So mechanically, each one of these affirmations, and we've got a bunch of them, are repeated 3 times while tapping on the top of the head. In other words, programming the brain, the 3D printer, to pay attention. A 4th time while continuously tapping on the chest, and a 5th time while continuously tapping on the abdomen. One of the other unique things about SFT tapping and your protocols, Jen, because you did actually create these, is ending all of these taps with a phrase, in all moments. Can you talk about that for a second and how that then overcomes the ego, which is the real, in a lot of ways, the last frontier to transcending?
So when you say in all moments, you're not addressing just what's happening in the present, because most of what's happening in the present is a direct reflection of what's happened in past lifetimes, and a direct reflection of what's happening with other people and what's happening in their makeup. So when you add the statement in all moments, it's not only addressing it in the present, no, it's addressing it in all moments in your Akashic records, past, present, and future, but also in whoever you're dealing with as well. So it's hard to make a shift in consciousness if the other person is going to be stuck and what their belief is, and they're going to hold you into something negative. But when you say, we release being trapped in all moments, you release being trapped by this person, by this person, by this person, and then you're not trapped in their Akashic records anymore and in their makeup anymore. So it's total freedom for everyone involved.
Yeah, and you often mention that one of the unique aspects about your tapping protocol is the way that it can bypass the ego, because the ego is it's a very cunning. I was going to say beast, but it's a very cunning aspect of the human experience.
The way I describe the ego, and this is the best way to describe it, is anyone who's had a teenage child. You love the teenage child, you do everything to empower this teenage child. But then they get to an age where they think that they know more than you. They start rolling their eyes when you talk and they start to belittle you. This is the same thing as the ego. The ego thinks that it knows more about you than you do. So it starts to take away your power. It starts to take over. And it'll prevent you from having experiences that aren't about its control. So these taps, as much as they help the individual get empowered, if they have a strong ego, the ego is going to make them fight them. They can't say the statements. They'll resist doing the work. They'll think, oh, Jen's just a crackpot, whatever it is. That's the ego preventing you from being empowered. And oh, by the way, society has its own ego it deals with. It's called the universal mind. And that's really tough because a lot of people who think they're so spiritually enlightened, I worship of the ego if they think that the universal mind is the highest aspect of beingness, because it's not. And there's a thing that happens with people who are awakening. They've been lied to in so many circles, in so many ways. They think that if they go far enough, it means they're going to separate from their consciousness, meaning their atoms are going to scatter to the universe and they no longer exist as a being. That's a lie. Because frankly, my atoms scatter to the universe all the time, and I have experiences not only on this planet, but all over the lower worlds. And it doesn't separate you from your consciousness. That's a fear tactic of the universal mind. And another technique of the universal ego is to make you worship it, like thinking that mind is God. It's not. And once you stop knowing there's always another level, always another level of growth. Once you stop at one level and you think you've made it, you've just been had, because it keeps expounding and keeps getting more empowered.